So Keith, we're coming towards the end of your first year coaching in the 𝗵𝗵𝗏𝗏 Academy. How have you found it?
I've loved it. I've really loved it. I think going into the football environment again was a big appeal to me, but I wasn't too sure if I would take the coaching or take the coaching in general. But to be fair, the lads have been brilliant. The people within the academy have been absolutely excellent with me, and I'm really enjoying it and eager to keep learning.
You moved away to the UK, of course, at 16 and played the majority of your professional career over there before a couple of seasons in the LOI, a little spell at 𝗵𝗵𝗏𝗏 as well. So you wouldn't have known too much about the Irish academy scene from schoolboy to the transition to the League of Ireland academies when you were away. So what were you expecting coming into the environment?
Well, I knew I'd been out in Blanchardstown before training with the first team back in the day, so I had a notion of what Blanchardstown would be like. But the facilities are actually quite good. The gyms are there, they're available. There's ice baths, there's showers, there's everything you would want from a modern day facility. There's an all-weather pitch there, which is needed in this country as well badly. So look, the facilities are absolutely excellent. They're up there with some of the best in the country. So yeah, look, across the water is a different kettle of fish altogether, but I think Pats are really ahead of the curve at the minute.
Yeah, the 4 boys academy teams are based in TU Dublin Blanchardstown, as you mentioned, and our first ever League of Ireland girls under 17s are with our partner club Cherry Orchard out in Elmdale, another great base. How important are those type of facilities for the players?
Massively important. We're all striving to be professional footballers, and we want them to think like professional footballers, so they have to have the professional setting and the professional mindset. So when they could go in and have a physiotherapy, an ice bath, a shower, whatever it must be, a masseuse, these are big advantages for players in the League of Ireland. So it gets them into the first team mentality, it gets them into the professional mindset. So big plus. Yeah,
so they've got their sessions on the pitch. Each academy team trains minimum 3 pitch sessions a week. They're in the gym. As you mentioned, video analysis is another big part of the club, and those facilities are also available and used by each team at least once, if not twice a week. And the players get player development plans and stuff as well to help them. You might tell us more about working and coaching in the environment and exactly what the players kind of get. I've given a brief overview there.
Well, what they get is they get obviously training as a team. Any individuals would like to come and pick my brains, they're more than welcome. And I don't want to call them weaknesses, but if I see something that a player is maybe lacking a little bit, I can highlight that. And with today's modern technology, all they have to do is get little clips on their phone, send it to an iPad, and all of a sudden we're up and running, and we can go through in detail what I think they can improve on. So with all the mod cons that they have out in Blanchardstown, it's really easy to be able to show them tactically what we want of them. And yeah, I think it thrives. Sometimes you don't have the facilities to be able to show a player exactly what you mean in a game situation, but like you said, with all the mod cons, all the media available out there, it's really easy to be able to talk to players through what they need and where they need to be at specific times.
I know you loved your time as a schoolboy player at Belvedere before you moved away. A lot of our academy players have come through the various schoolboy clubs in Dublin and beyond, and those clubs of course have done a fantastic job with them. But it's fair to say that the landscape has changed a little bit in terms of the League of Ireland academies, and particularly the 𝗵𝗵𝗏𝗏 one. You've mentioned some of the advantages that the players get as well, and it's certainly changed a little bit since you were a kid playing in Dublin.
Yeah, ever so slightly, yeah, it's changed a little bit. But like I said, the game moves on, it's all moved on, but the basics of the game are the same. And I think that's one thing an academy can breed into young players. We all talk about breaking the lines, playing on the half turn, stuff like that, but the one thing you need in an academy is the basics, is to be able to control, pass and move. And it is basic stuff, but if you can nail them, you're halfway to getting yourself a career out of the game, and that is success. Coming on as a human being, being better at football, which will inevitably happen being in an academy environment, but we have an emphasis on the human being and the education side as well, which is obviously a big thing.
I know you emphasise a lot when you are coaching about the technique and about the practice and about being able to manipulate the ball and stuff, and it's something that you were great at as a kid, and it's something that you're trying to encourage our academy players to really focus on.
Yeah, well look, it's a lot easier these days, but you look at YouTube clips of the likes of Zinedine Zidane. I would always be looking at the likes of Zinedine Zidane. His first touch was never static, the ball never stopped in front of him. He would take the ball on the move, and if you can control the ball and tell the ball where you want it to go, it makes the game that much easier rather than the ball telling you where your next touch is going to go. To be able to have that control, it's technically a great thing to be able to do, and technique is a big thing. If you're technically lacking, it's hard to move on to the next stage of football. You have to be technically proficient to be able to do everything within it, and obviously the more technique work, the better.
The players are working hard, and the coaching team across the 5 academy teams, and Ger O'Brien as academy manager also working hard. There's over 20 coaches working in the academy in various different departments, from the coaching to the analysis to the medical side to the gym side and stuff as well. We've got the use of a great little staff office in Blanche as well to have our pre-training and match meetings and stuff as well, and a lot of the coaches highly qualified and doing their best to try and help the next generation of Pat's players.
Yeah, it's brilliant. You know, the first time, the first couple of weeks, the first couple of months I was coming into Blanchardstown, there's generally somebody in the office. They usually have the telly on, that breaking down tactics of a game that happened on the weekend, and it's a really professional environment. And obviously, whoever it is, 19s, 17s, 15s, whichever team happens to be in the room, we're all picking each other's brains, and there's a competitive edge there, but at the same time we're all on the same team and we're pushing in the right direction. So brilliant professional environment, and one that I was keen to get involved in.
In terms of the St. Pat's first team, just doing some maths before we chatted, and we've worked out that the average age of the squad this season of players that have either made an appearance or been on the bench for the 10 league games so far is 23.04, so it's one of the youngest squads in the Premier Division. 25 Pats players in total in those stats. 7 of those, Keith, have come through the St. Pat's Academy and are on full-time professional contracts. If we look at the last Pats game, that thriller at Dalymount last Friday, the 3-2 victory, Sam Curtis at 17 and Adam Murphy, who just turned 18, both started. Jamie Lennon, who's now 24 but has come through the academy a number of years ago, started the match, did brilliantly. Tommy Lonigan comes on. Mason Mealy at 15 on the bench for the first time. Ben McCormack, who's had lots of minutes on the bench as well, and lots of academy graduates getting a proper chance at the club here. Yeah,
I think that's one of the big attractions towards the academy, is that if you are playing well and you're impressing, you will get a chance in our first team. You know, it's not blocked off to you have to have so many games in a certain age level. If we think you're good enough, or if Tim thinks you're good enough, if the staff think you're good enough, you will make your way up through the ranks pretty quickly. So I think that's a big draw. The academy is there. It's there to help you learn, and it's there to provide you with a chance to get into the first team. And like you say, with the stats there, Jay, they speak for themselves. There's obviously a great pathway from the academy to the first team.
And that pathway for young players now is so important, particularly with Brexit coming in, meaning that young players in Ireland can't move away to the UK or Scotland at 16 like you did. They have to wait till they're at least 18. Now, we've seen the likes of 𝗫𝗆𝗆 move away, of course, to 𝗬𝗏𝗍 in Italy, and a couple of other players haven't turned 18. Darragh Burns and Josh Keeley in recent months have moved across to Tottenham and MK Dons. But for the ones who are still here, in the case of a Sam Curtis or an Adam Murphy, a couple that we've mentioned, like when Sam joined the club at 15, he very quickly made his first team debut and probably hasn't looked back, because he saw the opportunity that St. Pat's would give him at senior level.
Yeah, look, there's pros and cons of going early. There's obviously, I went very early. I was probably a bit too young, but when you look at the other side of it, I think obviously we want to bring the human being along with the footballer. We don't just want to get the footballer, you know, put all the eggs into one basket. We want to bring him on educationally as well, and that's something that can happen on this side of the water. Over the other side, it doesn't really happen so much. But look, there's so much youth in the team. It's excellent, and like we say, the pathway is such a big thing, and it's obviously there for everybody to see.
Yeah, some other young players at the club as well on loan at the minute from clubs in the UK who are 18, 19, 20 also, and getting that exposure to first team football at a younger age, Keith, training and playing in a competitive men's environment. How is that helping those young players develop at such a young age?
Massively, it is, and this is what I talk about with the pros and cons of it, Jay. When I was at Blackburn, I was probably too good for the reserves, but not quite good enough for the first team, so I spent a lot of time in limbo and in playing in the reserve team football. And the one thing with reserve team football is there's no points on the line. You know, there's no relegation, there's no winners, there's no losers at the end of it, really. So it's quite passive at times. You don't get that in the League of Ireland. When you're here, you're playing games, it's bread and butter. There's 3 points on the line, there's full-blooded tackles. So you're wearing your stripes in a different way if you stay here. And look, like I say, there's pros and cons to both, but staying here and earning your stripes in the League of Ireland, if you look at the Irish team, Seamus Coleman obviously did it at Sligo, and it's to be admired. And I think with the whole Brexit thing not being able to go, I think it's just going to breathe new life into the league. And looking at the games themselves, and we've done lots of the LOI TV together here, Keith, on the gantry in Richmond, and the crowds have been fantastic. There'll be over 5,000 here on Friday to cheer the lads on against Shamrock Rovers. There was, I think, around 4,000 in Dalymount last Friday. Is one of the best League of Ireland atmospheres I've ever seen. I've been around the league, you know, coaching and working in the media for a few years, but for the young lads again to get to play in those environments where it's so loud, at times hostile, with big points on the line, like the experience of that, as you said, can't just be got at underage. You just can't. Yeah, exactly, and that's why first team football is so important, to be able to expose the lads to that type of pressure, because you don't get it in training, you don't get it in reserve team games and underage games. It's when when the first team are playing, when, like you say, there's 5,000 in Richmond and the place is bouncing and they're demanding a performance, that's when you get a bit of hair in your chest. That's when you start earning your stripes. And like I said, thankfully most of the lads have took to it like a duck to water, the academy prospects, that is.
And they seem to have really, as you said, jumped in and shown no fear and no nerves, and that's a credit to them, to their families, and to the work that's gone on in the academy and at the schoolboy clubs they've been at, that when they do go in, and of course the first team staff here are fantastic with them, Tim, John, Alan, Sean, PJ and the wider coaching staff, at preparing them during the week and then giving them the confidence, I suppose, when they go out on a Friday or a Monday just to play as normal. Like if you watch those lads playing for the first team, or you watch them playing for the 15s, 17s or 19s in recent years, you're seeing, well, they're the same type of player, they're just doing it at obviously a higher level.
Exactly. I think that's the Pat's philosophy. Obviously Pats want to play football, we want to play nice, attractive play, but Tim gives the lads the freedom to make mistakes. We all make mistakes with the football. Even the best players in the world make mistakes with the football. But the base of it is work hard. If we all work hard, you know, technically we can be forgiven for making mistakes. And we're all trying to play in the right areas. And the last couple of weeks has been a real example of playing in the right areas. And like I say, I think Tim has given the lads the freedom to make mistakes, which obviously you've seen the last couple of games. Yeah, and as a manager and as a coaching staff as well, to have the confidence in the players to give them that chance. I mean, the Shamrock Rovers game in Tallaght 5-6 games ago finished 2-2. When we were chasing the equaliser, there were 5 teenagers on the pitch. 4 of them had come through the Pat's Academy, and the other one is 𝗂𝗵𝗆, who's on loan from Coventry. So, you know, like to have Sam, to have Adam, to have Ben, and to have Tommy Lonigan on the pitch away to Tallaght in front of 7,000 fans shows exactly what Tim thinks of them, and that as a manager and a coaching staff and a club is to be commended, that it's a massive game, massive stadium, massive crowd, and you've got 5 kids on the pitch. Yeah, you're spot on, Jay. It's not a token gesture, you know. It's not, you know, for all respect, it's not a bottom basement game. It's a proper game. It's over in Tallaght. It doesn't get much harder than that in this league. So, like you say, to have the young lads on the pitch at that time, it's credit to them, and it's not a token gesture. Tim trusts them to put them into a hostile environment like that, so speaks volumes for the education they're getting in the academy. And in terms of the exposure to those 7 lads who were in the first team on full-time contracts, training full-time, some are still doing their education along with their football, others are focusing fully on the football, but they're full-time, they're on the pitch, they're in the gym, they're doing their recovery, they're doing their, you know, their video analysis, they're getting their rest, recovery and stuff, and again, for them to have that at such a young age is something that's, I'm sure, really, really helping them. Yeah, of course. Again, it just goes into the professional mindset. Everybody wants to be a footballer. Everybody and their son wants to be a footballer, but not everybody can be a professional footballer. So to be in that professional mindset, once you come into the building, once you come into the academy, you have to flick that switch. It has to be on. It should never really come off, if we're being honest. But especially when you're in the building, you need to be ultra professional. That's the sort of environment and DNA that we want running through the Pat's Academy. Yeah, really good work going on as well with our first ever women's under-17 team with Darragh O'Reilly as head coach. The girls had another great win at the weekend, and it's great to see them doing their stuff in the colours of St. Pat's. Of course, Keith, there's a number of other teenagers in the academy on the boys' side, particularly in the 19s, who are on academy professional contracts, and they're all working hard to make the breakthrough that some of their peers and some of their teammates have. So their hard work continues, and we see firsthand when we're in Blanche the work that's going on with those players to have them ready when Tim does make the call. If any of them do need to jump, that they're in a really, you know, professional, intense training and playing environment. Yeah, and I think the one thing that really attracted me to the academy was that all the lads want to learn. Nobody thinks they're a finished article. Nobody goes around with too big of an ego. They all have egos because they're footballers, and we encourage that, but nobody has the type of ego that they think they don't need to learn. Everybody's really open to learning, and like I said, it just breeds into the DNA of the club, and like you say, it's all pushing in the right direction. Yeah, and speaking of the DNA of the club, of course, the younger sides, the boys 14s, 15s and 17s, and the girls 17s as well, all of those players between the ages of 13, 16, some of the 17-year-olds are already in the 19s, some of the 16-year-olds already in the 19s as well, but the younger ones are doing their best along with the coaches to, I suppose, get a good base of what being a St. Pat's Academy player is all about, so that when they do jump up through the age groups, they're also ready. But it's great to see the younger teams doing so well, and we get to see them train and how professional they are as well. Yeah, it's great. At that age, you know, everybody's running around with a smile on their face. It hasn't become too serious just yet, but look, it's brilliant to see them coming in, week out, day in, day out, and even with their tactical sessions, it's great to see their minds looking at the game in a different way, because sometimes when you're younger, it's all about just chasing the ball and they get a bit too bogged down in the game, but when you see them breaking down the tactical side and you see the player behind the bit of talent that they've shown, it's great to scratch that surface and see just get into the knowledgeable side of it. It's brilliant.
And on that, I found they love watching their games back. They love watching their own clips back, and it's not just to see the great goal they scored or the great save that they made. And all of the games in the Pats Academy, both home and away, are videoed, and the players have access to them on the various online video sharing platforms. We use a platform called 𝗽𝗶𝗆𝗆, and again, it's something that's really developing in the underage, that they get to see their games back, and there's no better way to learn than actually see, because the coach can tell them this, that and the other, and the coach could be right, but when they have video evidence, I suppose, to back that up, or to prove at times maybe that the coach made a mistake, and the coach made a mistake with a tactical plan for everyone involved, it's great.
Yeah, well, it's great to have that, to have the visual on it, because sometimes when in the heat of the moment, having been a player, you don't remember the moment. You know, there's moments in the game you remember, certain moments that you don't. You know, certain tackles, certain moments where you're not in the right position, and if the coach says something to you, you should have been in this position, you might remember it slightly differently. But like you said, if he has a visual on it, and he can literally say, I need you 2 yards left, 2 yards right, I need you speaking there. There's no arguments either way, and it's not about the coach is right and the player is wrong. It's all about opinions at the end of the day, and look, we all have them. It's just about winning and progressing as a team. Yeah,
and we use the tactics boards quite a bit with the teams as well, and we'd have them on the training pitch, particularly on the team tactical nights, if you're doing, helping the team prepare for a specific match against a specific opponent. And we've enjoyed seeing the players interact and sometimes come up to the tactics board and almost be the coach and move the magnets and help their own brains develop what we want the game plan to be.
Yeah, of course. It's not for us to be watching the game and telling the lads you need to be here, here and here. We don't want robots out there. We want players with character, and we want players who can fill problems themselves. We all want problem solvers on the pitch, and when you get into the first team, for instance, Tim is not going to be able to shout to the far side of the pitch of what he wants from a player, so they have to be tactically aware, and we want them solving them problems themselves. And it's like you say, we don't always want to be giving them the answers. We want them to know that they have the answers in their heads, and that's a perfect example when they come up to the tactics board and show us what they should be doing. And
it's great to see them when you've practiced something and maybe helped them in the training. If it comes off in the match, whether that be a set piece, whether that be any aspect of the game, really, it's very satisfying as a coach to be able to know that a little thing that you've done during the week has helped the players.
Yeah, I'm probably quite selfish in a way like that, Jamie, that I realise my time in football is gone, but I can still have little moments in it. And when you tweak a player's game, a certain player's game, and like you say, you see it coming off, you see him getting the benefits of it, it just makes you feel 10 feet tall for having a small input on what he's done. And you're right, you get great little moments like that, little rewards within the game.
As you mentioned, you've been at the academy for almost a year now, and we must say a big thanks to our main academy sponsors, Mangard Plus. How have you developed yourself as a coach over the last kind of 9, 10, 11, 12 months, and what are you enjoying about it? What do you find challenging and stuff?
Well, I'm just enjoying being on the pitch. I think it's probably a bit of a cliche from coaches, but being on the pitch is the easy thing. I love interacting with the lads. I love the banter. I love just being out there. I love being on the pitch. I think it just breeds from the day of being a player. There's certain politics within the game outside the actual game itself, dealing with people that you don't necessarily get knowledge of when you're doing your badges, so little things like that are challenging, but like I say, really enjoying being on the pitch with the lads and just the tactical battle, trying to outwit people and thinking, if we do that, how are they going to do that, and counteracting what you think people are going to do to beat you. I just find it fascinating.
We've got some really good set piece takers in the academy as well, and you've been able to work with them quite closely with regards to corner kicks and wide free kicks and direct free kick stuff that you were an expert at yourself. So not just being able to tell them, but in your case you're able to actually show them, which is nice, and it's great again to see on a Saturday if something that you've helped them with, an individual player with his technique or an area that he or she wants to deliver the ball into on the set pieces, which are becoming an increasing important part of senior football and as an extension academy football.
Yeah, you say that, Jay. I think it's always been a big part of the game. I think for some reason, there's this notion of attractive football and set pieces don't really matter. Set pieces are one of the big basics of the game, and if you can't defend set pieces properly, you're going to lose 9 times out of 10. So set pieces are a huge part of the game, and that probably filters down from the managers I played over during the years, like the likes of Sam Allardyce, Giovanni Trapattoni, Mark Hughes. They didn't want to concede goals from set pieces. They didn't allow it. If a team rips you to shreds with nice open intricate play, you can hold your hands up. With set pieces, it's almost criminal to concede from there. So it's a basic of the game, but it's one that's sadly overlooked by a lot of people.
And lastly, just on yourself, I know when you met Ger around this time last year, Ger O'Brien, you weren't sure after football if you were going to go down the media route or down the coaching route. You're doing both at the moment, in the middle of your badges as well. but coaching is definitely something that you've taken to, and you hope to continue, and touch wood for now it's at St. Pat's.
Yeah, I'll be at St. Pat's now for maybe the next 2 seasons at a minimum, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here. Like I said, when Ger first approached me, I was actually walking my dogs in Rinsane Park, and he asked me if I'd be interested, and like I said, I come and dip my toe in the water and see how we feel. But it's a credit to St. Pat's Academy, the credit to the lads within it as well, that I've actually fancied it, because I didn't fancy it at the start, but everybody's opening to learn and everybody's pushing in the right direction. And like I said, having played for Pats, I feel like I'm part of the club, and I was welcomed by everybody so nicely that, yeah, delighted to be here.
Great, Keith. Thanks a million for chatting, and we'll see you back on the pitch soon.
Yeah.
The training pitch, coaching pitch, not the playing pitch, of course. Thanks, Keith.
No worries.